Feora the Forsaken. And one of the few descriptions that we have from her looks like an inner monologue, which we'll be reading in my voice and not her voice because, well, I am not her. So, she plotted and schemed for years. She was to be the next hierarch. She was to rule the Protectorate. It was her destiny, or at least that's what Feora thought. Then the Infernals came, and all these years of backstabbing and manipulation just went kapooey. While the world crumbles, her rage swells. With nothing left to control, she has but one purpose, one thing fueling her infinite well of hatred and spite. She's gonna watch the world burn. And that she does, because this particular rendition, well, it's been modified a lot in Mark IV, but we're going to read what the changes were between Mark III to Mark IV, and then we'll see. She was nerfed a little bit because her Mark III rendition of this was a little bit OP'd, and you'll see why in a second. We're going to start with, of course, her stat line. She is still a speed 6, still a magic attack of 6, still an arc of 6, although in the Mark III she can get up to a arc of 8, but I don't know if that's still in there. And her control range is still a 12, and she still has a defense of 15 and 17 arm, so she's still a pretty dodgy at that point. Also, she still has her immunity to fire as well. Alrighty, and first, let's go over the things that she got to keep in Mark IV. She still has Field Marshal, or for her special abilities, she still has Field Marshal Aggressive, so warjacks in her battle group can still run or charge without spending focus. She still has Resourcefulness, so upkeep spells that she has on models in her battle group, she can upkeep without spending a focus, so they just stay on, so that's kind of awesome. Especially for somebody that only has 6 focus, you don't want to be burning off like that. And it appears she was given Hand of Vengeance. When one or more friendly faction warrior models are destroyed or removed from play by an enemy attack while within 5 of this model, she gains a +2 to her melee attack and melee damage rolls. And what she lost was her Hatred and Spite. Now, Hatred and Spite is a pretty broken move, and I can understand why they took it off. So, in Mark III, the Hatred, during your maintenance phase, you place 1 anger token on this model, and this model gains 1 strength for each anger token on it. And additionally, once you get 5 or more anger tokens, she gets an additional +2 focus. Yeah, that's a little busted too, isn't it? Because that is basically getting her up to a +5 or more strength, because there is no cutoff to this. So if a game goes longer than, say, 5 rounds, you're going up against a lady who's hitting at 17s with 7 focus. Yeah, and that is pretty dang scary. Also, the Spite move rolls into the Hatred, so if an enemy model causes 1 or more of this model's upkeep spells to expire, that enemy model suffers 1 damage point for each anger token on this model and the fire continues effect. So can you imagine, shutting down, like, with, was it Hex? I don't know, whatever it was, whatever spell you could use to shut down upkeep spells, and just take like a POW 5 or more. Yeah, or not a POW 5, but just 5 damage or more on it. Yeah, and you're on fire. Yeah, it was a little bit broken during the time, but I can understand why they took it off and switched out with Hand of Vengeance, because that's a little bit simpler spell and requires a lot less finagling there. But let's go over her feat and see if anything changed there. And survey says burnt out. No, it's actually the exact same thing. Enemy models currently within 3 inches of 1 or more for warjacks in her battle group suffer an unboostable power 13, and they catch on fire. So if you're running her with a lot of warjacks, then you can clear out a lot of low armored models and catch fire to everything else. So, and her weapon, Flame Saw, is still the same thing. Still has critical shred on it. So on a critical hit during this weapon's combat action after the attack is resolved, this model can make another attack with this weapon against that model. It's still a Mat 7, still a Power 12, still a magical weapon, and it still causes continuous fire. So, yeah, just as dangerous there, but let's go over her spell list, see what has changed. So, some of the spells that she lost was Road to War, which is a weirdly complicated spell anyway. And then another one she lost is Scorn, because Scorn is connected to her little firebrand thing, or her little anger point token things that she had in Mark III, so that's been removed, of course. But what she still has is she still has her Death March. So target friendly faction unit gains +2 mat and vengeance. So if during their maintenance phase, if one or more models in that unit were damaged by an enemy, each model in that unit can advance up to 3 and take a swing. She still has fire starters, so target model in her battle group gains continuous fire on their weapon. She still has hell rot, so a target cohort in her battle group gains +2 arm and retaliation. So if they were damaged by a model during their maintenance phase, they can advance up to 3 and take a swing. She was given Tantrum, which is awesome. Tantrum is a spell for her. If one or more models in the spellcaster's battle group were damaged by an enemy attack while within 5 inches of the spellcaster, during your maintenance phase, you can move up 3 inches and take a swing. And then she was also given Firebrand. So on a hit, target model and the D3 nearest enemy models within 3 inches also suffer the fire continuous effect. And this guy is a POW 14 range 10 spell, so yeah, this thing can knock out some heavy damage, especially throwing a continuous fire of a POW 12 onto a low armored model, probably going to kill him off. So I feel like she is a very good warjack carrier for this, even though she has some stuff for just friendly faction units, which is cool. I feel like she is very into her warjacks in this particular rendition of her just being angry that she could not steal the seat of power of the Protectorate. So, but still just as dangerous, and I do not look forward to seeing her on the field of battle.